Oh, sugar. Well, hey, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the middle of the week, by the way, and welcome into the Ryan Ripken show. Um, we are now live at 5, Monday through Friday. Appreciate you guys tuning in. The reason why we're doing this again, we have so much content that we're trying to cover, and you, the people, said you want to hear more of it, so stop traffic. Here we are. Our big shows are still on Monday and Thursday, and that's where we really dive into the football side. Today, definitely during the week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're really hitting baseball. And right now, a lot of baseball topics because the GM meetings were happening. Now we heard from the premier agent, Zach, so far about some moves, or sorry, shouldn't say some moves. I'm still trying to decipher what Scott Boras was saying.
We didn't get anything today.
We got a lot. We're getting a little bit more insight into what's happening in Baltimore. We'll recap what.
I was going to say, did we get more insight from Boras? Did we? Because we can get into the quotes in a minute, but we got something from Boras. I'm not sure.
Dude, we'll get into all that here in a minute, but we have that to cover. We'll go over a little bit, maybe at the end of some of the notes we made with Tim Kirchin yesterday. If you guys missed it, can bring that back up. Manager of the Year voting, and so on and so forth. But before we get into that, I want to shout out Merrick Clubs, by the way. Merrick Clubs, if you were looking to get right in the fitness and wellness space, well, this is the time to do it. Black Friday early savings are going on right now. $1 enrollment. And also, if you're feeling interested, three-day free passes as a trial. All you got to do is go to meritclubs.com. So if you like a three-day free pass, or you want an early enrollment, check out meritclubs.com. And how do you spell $1/3-day free pass trial, Zach?
MERRITT.
Boom. And when I move, you move.
Just like that.
Just like that. We're back into it. Zach, where the heck are we starting today?
I actually wanted to play a game to start because it goes into what we're talking about. I think we just rip the Band-Aid off and we play everyone's favorite game of real or fake quote. And because I'm not sure if you can decipher at times. So we'll start with this one. Real or fake quote. The fans in Detroit want the Tigers to build a Tarek barrack. The Little Caesars are running around town saying, "Sigh. It should be Scooby done, right? If not, I think the fans will certainly think it's a Detroit doink."
Like, I know that's a real quote, but what in the hell does the last sentence even mean? 2 sentences.
Scott Boras. It's a real quote. Scott Boras talking about Tarek Skubal and the negotiations with the Detroit Tigers. If you've been following it, he is on the last year of his contract. People are wondering, is Tarek going to be traded? Are the Tigers going to extend him? Is he going to make it to free agency? And Scott graciously gave us no insight into anything of the discussions, but threw out some puns, to say the least.
Yeah, Zach, I think I actually have the video that we can play over. This actually is the quote. I think I have it right here. Zach, can I pull that up for our audience?
Yeah, pull it up.
This was the quote. That was the quote. Here's the video.
Talks with the Tigers, do you anticipate that they'll keep Skubal instead of trading him?
You know, all we know is that the fans in Detroit want the Tigers to build a Tarek barrack. You know, they Little Caesars running around town saying "sigh." So it's the kind of thing where he's He's built a base. Obviously, everywhere they go, they know it's Scooble Day. They understand that that organization is substantially different if he's not there. And you know, when you're in these situations and you go through it, all we know is that we hear mostly from the fans, and the player hears from the fans, and it's kind of like it should be Scooby done, right? And if not, I think the fans would certainly think it's a Detroit doink if they don't.
There's a lot of dead silence there because I'm in shock. And that was Scott Boras today. That was a direct quote. So let's just try to break this down. I don't understand all of it, but if I pulled up the quote, can you pull up that quote real quickly so we can look at it?
Yeah,
the Scooby, yeah. So the fans in Detroit want the Tigers to build a Tarek Barrack. I don't know. Is it like the fans in the stands? Like you're going to create a place on the concourse or like in the stands?
Maybe they're like that. He's fortifying a fort. Like, what are we? He had to just be like, what rhymes with Tarek? Like, there's.
Yeah, what are they going to put in the right behind the bullpen? They're going to put a Barrack. Oh, hey, come on in here. Here's Tarek Barrack. Watch that happen, by the way. I don't under the Little Caesars. That was trying to be clever, but that was too much of a stretch of saying
Cy.
He's a Cy Young Award winner. Got it. Scooby Dun. So you're trying to say good. I'm saying you're like
Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
Scooby for Scooble. It should be
Scooby
Dun.
Instead of Scooby Doo, Scooby Dun. And then if not, fans would certainly think it's a Detroit doink. He's just trying to roll Detroit a D and a D back to back there. The only like doink that I think about, or double doink, is in Chicago. That was something. But I understand kind of what he's saying there. So we deciphered that, Zach. So should we continue this game? So we figured that one out. That's true.
Yeah. We figured that one out. Now the next one of real or fake quote. There's no doubt Pete's pursuers are primed to pay the power piper. Pete picked a perfect period to play preemptively at a primary position. A playoff parch plethora will pounce to participate in the polar plunge.
I know that's going to have to be true, and I'm still processing the amount of peas.
It's a real quote.
How many? Okay, can we count the peas? So we got Pete's pursuers.
He said this with a straight face too.
A power piper. Pete picked perfect period. Play preeminently. Primary position. Playoff parched plethora. Pounce. Participate. Polar plunge. So 21 words that begin with P in that statement over 3 sentences. That's impressive.
Yeah.
You think he thought about this on the fly?
This I don't know who this is. This is a prime Boras day. Like, we are witnessing just what makes Scott Boras special, because he is just talking for minutes at a time and giving nobody anything. And it's just incredible. It's truly just incredible. Pete's pursuers are primed to pay the power piper.
Say that 10 times fast. That's a lot of peas. Maybe too many P's for me. Do we have one more?
Yeah, and actually, we don't even have a quote. We just do you want to listen to it because this is So here's Scott Boras talking about Alex Bregman. So
yep.
I would certainly think that, like in Boston, we learned a lot about Bregman in 25 because in Boston, prior to 25, they had a lot of lineup do not holes. Certainly, prior to 25, Boston has been a kind of a club that's been has Duncan well below the playoff line. So, I think it was a bad roast in Beantown, and certainly, and give the owners credit in 25. They went out and spent some Starbucks to bring in a Bregman blend that led them to the playoffs. So I'm sure the Boston fans don't want this to be just a cup of coffee. And no one wants a Brexit.
No one wants a Brexit.
Hey, you got to give it to him, man.
I like him just holding the towel like a boxer, prized fighter, just sitting there.
Yeah, it's like
literally unbelievable.
I mean, it was great sound bites. Not exactly sure what they mean. Essentially, I'm hearing from the ones that we at least talked about. So the Tigers, if we're talking about Skubal and with Bregman, saying how the value that those guys have for going back to their own teams, and they'd be very upset if they weren't staying with their own teams. And then Pete Alonso, essentially, he's saying, well, Pete Alonso is going to make Peter Piper Alonso is going to he's gonna get a big contract. He had the big power numbers at the right time, felt a little bit devalued from the Mets last year, but loves playing there. And I think that's the one to me. If I'm taking it, his services are going to be out there. So are Bregman. So are Skubal's not there yet, right? He's still under contract in Detroit, but it definitely felt more of the Pete was he's going elsewhere, like for sure going elsewhere, and
have a plethora
of it. So this is part of the offseason. Welcome to the offseason. And Scott Boras with some great sound bites. He has been considered the one agent that always packs a punch when it comes to getting the deals. Well, now he's really lighting up the press conferences so far this offseason. And also, I'm pretty sure he's representing IME.
Yeah. Is that just the most, of course he is, of all time? Japanese superstar comes over. Of course he's a Boras client. It's Scott Boras. He also had some other ones, actually. I found a news article on Twitter that actually just highlighted his best quotes from today. And Scott Boras is good at what he does. I think he thinks the GM meetings, this is just like a playhouse for him. He's just going door to door. He's like, hey guys. And it's like a mobster. He walks around there and, every GM, they know they have to deal with him, but they're like, don't make eye contact. Focus ahead, because if he catches you at a weak spot, he'll win. He'll win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's already started, and it's November 12th. Winter meetings is next month on December 7th. It's going to continue to get the ball rolling here. But through all of the word charades and games of Scott Boras, he did say a phrase that was a lot more clear to understand, but maybe complex about how Orioles fans are going to take it. And Zach, I think you know where I'm going with this. I'll let you lead it in.
Yeah, Scott Boras was asked about the Baltimore Orioles today, and he said their approach. He said they're going to be one of the more active clubs in free agency for sure. Now, listen, I'm not naive. I've heard this. The birds have feathered up in 2022. We got that line from Boras. We've gotten in 23 that they're going to be, at the top of the list for everyone. So he's not saying that the Orioles are getting superstars. He's not saying, hey, every top guy is going to be looking at Baltimore. He's saying they're going to be active. Where they're active, we're not sure. Is it going to be in the top of the free agency pool? Is it going to be that middle tier? Is it going to be maybe some depth pieces? Didn't specify, but it feels like as people have talked to either Mike Elias, reporters around the industry, we had Tim Kirchin on who gave the exact same sentiment as Boras did here, saying, yeah, the Orioles, they're going to be active because they have to be. They can't just sit back and be like, oh, 2025 was a fluke. Oh, we can run it back and we're going to be good. Tim Kirchin yesterday said, like, hey, Blue Jays figured it out. Like, the Red Sox are really good. The Yankees are the Yankees. Like, this is a AL East that you can't just run it back and hope, if we win 84 games next year, if we win 86 games next year, we can make the playoffs. You got to spend to compete in this division. And I think this is the year that the Orioles are going to have to dish out some money. So Scott Boras, take what he says with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, that is probably the most powerful man in Major League Baseball. If we're being honest, I don't think it's really a debate these days. But Scott Boras saying that he expects the Orioles to be one of the more active clubs in free agency. So, I think Oriole fans, there's a mixed reaction, especially on Twitter of, hey, we've seen this before, but there is also that hope. So, Ryan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that fans are not going to believe it until they see it. It doesn't matter what the verbiage is, doesn't matter. The phrase right now, Zach, is actions are going to speak louder than words. Well, we've heard the words again. Now it's going to be the action. Do you actually go and make the move? And look, by the way, we understand this, and if you don't, let me try to do my best to explain it. In all of sports, you can work on deals and you can understand that it might not happen. Like last year, Corbin Burns, that was an uphill battle because he wanted to go back to Arizona. Does it mean that the Orioles didn't offer him a favorable offer? No, he didn't take it. He went back home, and that was it. And that's fine. The problem, at least for Baltimore this year, is you can't be complacent. Not complacent. You can't be hesitant.
I guess complacent.
Okay, so maybe complacent, hesitant.
Yeah.
You can't, not that you have to be so reactionary to moves, but if you have a list of guys that you want, you need to be as proactive as possible and understand that there's a chance that certain guys might have to be overpaid. And there are certain guys that might have to be more prioritized, because as we get to the winter meetings, last year when I was down there, Zach, in Dallas, it was slow to start, right? And then the first day, deals started to pick up and some big deals happened, right? It was Soto, it was Fried.
Yeah.
And then you feel the pressure start to kick in. And so for the Orioles, with the amount of guys that they have, and the trade market right now too, which we'll get to, you want to feel like you're on one side of that when it happens. And I think that for the Orioles, I would say there's got to be maybe 5 guys that you need to prioritize of who you're really looking at, value how that's going to be, and then be ready to have that secondary group, because there's going to be a ton of free agents, Zach, that are going to be free agents well past winter meetings, and they're going to be sitting and waiting for an opportunity. But if you want any of these higher tiered guys, you're going to have to make an offer. Like, and this is the when the Cody Bellinger sign, that's going to make a move for the next player below him to go, right?
Yeah.
Or if Cody Bellinger goes, and I'm trying to think of other outfielders that are available. We talked about
obviously like I think that second tier, you're going to get more into the Harrison Baders, the Trent Grishams, the Mike Yastrzemskis, even though I would say that's probably even a tier below those guys. But I'm not going to put Kyle Tucker, Cody Bellinger, like the upper echelon of the outfielders, not putting Kyle Schwarber in there, even though that's technically what he would be playing. He will not be an outfielder. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be that second tier where you're not breaking the bank, but you can get a good quality player. I would be very intrigued by Trent Grisham. I think he's got value. I do think there's risk because he kind of had that one breakout year in New York with that short porch. But as you've also said, it's not too shabby as a lefty batting in Camden Yards either.
No, it ain't too shabby at all. But you know what the Orioles are going to need is that they need a little bit more right-handed thump in the lineup. They got a lot of lefties, but it's not just with the Orioles right now. I mean, it's just the big time players. You know, they're going to dictate the market for the secondary guys. So and it's typically Boras's guys that are dictating this, right? So I just mentioned Cody Bellinger. Pete Alonso is a guy that if you want a power bat playing first, well, he's priority number one. And then after that, guess who's available? Then you have the Josh Naylors of the world and some other player like Kyle Schwarber also I'd consider in that power bat position. Yeah. If he goes, Alonso goes, Bellinger goes.
I mean, even if you want to talk about like just first baseman, you know, it's not going to be, I don't think it happens in Baltimore, but a guy that I think is going to get a nice contract is going to be also because of his versatility, Ryan O'Hearn. You know, he's going to be in that secondary market of teams are going to be prioritizing him.
Yeah. So that's exactly the point right there, right? And so for the Orioles, you just need to be prepared. It's not just the Orioles. It's every team has to have a plan. Like, let me run through at least like in my mind, Zach, what I think the plan needs to be for the AL East teams. You know, if you're the Yankees, priority one is sounds like you want Bellinger. He was a great fit for you. It's a good ballpark to play. If you want Belly, you got to find a way to keep him there. But then you're also wondering, how do you restructure the rest of your lineup? You're working at position players in the middle infield, second base potentially being an option. Who are you going to be willing to go out there and get? Pitching wise, the Yankees will always probably make an extra move, but they're pretty good in the pitching department. You know, so they feel pretty solid. Now go to Boston. Boston could be aggressive for a pitcher. Pete Alonso could fit in there at going to play first base if they decide to do that, or an Alex Bregman or a Bo Bichette. You know, so Boston is kind of in that influx where it just depends on how much they want to spend, but they have openings throughout their roster that they could really upgrade. Yeah. I don't see Tampa spending much, just how they are. Toronto will be right back in it, trying to retain Bo first and then see what else they go to get. And then there's Baltimore, where you're not looking for infielders. You're looking for outfielders and you're looking for pitching. So you need to make sure with the other teams in the American League, as well as the AL East, Zach, it's the whole American League.
Yeah.
If you like a pitcher, you got to make sure that you go get your guy. And if you do that, you'll be in a better spot because the Orioles are, in my mind, that Zach, they're not going to go after Alonso. I don't see that. They're not going to go after.
As much as I'd love it, I don't see it. And actually, Rip, I'm going to say this. I think the Orioles have, I'm not going to say an advantage, but they have a head start in this free agency over teams like Boston, New York, and Toronto because of things that you just said. Because Toronto, what's got to be the number one priority? Re-sign Bo. You need to keep Bo Bichette there. For Boston, what's going to be a priority? Okay, what are we doing with Alex Bregman? You know, for New York, it's going to be, are we bringing back Bellinger? You know, is Grisham a guy? Are we going to go bring back, you know, Weaver or Devin Williams? You know, the Orioles are really that team that they know who they're bringing back and who they're not. Like they sold all the players that were becoming free agents. You know, they're already not back. So now they can look at their roster. They don't have to question, like if you're Boston, of, okay, do we bring Bregman back? If you're, you know, New York, okay, do we bring Bellinger back? And what does that look like? And do we focus elsewhere first? Is that the priority? So the Orioles have a head start. They have the opportunity where they know right now what their roster looks like compared to last year, where the holes are and where they need to fill. So I think they have a slight advantage, slight head start there, but it does come down to, are you willing to spend? Are you willing to go above and beyond? Because I've said this before, I think one of the bigger things, and, this front office is very calculated. I think they very much go off of value and what they believe is fair value. And I've said this before, and I'll say it probably a million more times over my lifetime. If you are looking to get a player at their correct value in free agency, you will not get that player. You have to overpay for guys, especially in bidding wars. Guys are going to go. Teams are willing to spend, especially teams that feel like they are right on the cusp. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive. So if you're the Orioles, are you willing to get a little uncomfortable? Are you willing to give that extra 15, 20 million on a contract, even though your analytics, even though your, value chart saying up, he's worth this, everything above that's a risk? Are you willing to take that and say, hey, we want to get this guy. This guy makes a difference for us. And I think that's the biggest question that's going to be answered in Baltimore.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't know why I want to say a boot, like the Canadian way. It's just, humor me, Zach. But the big part when you look at this, and this is kind of when I'm looking at the construction of the roster again, your question mark of your offense is going to be outfield. How are you filling out your outfield? What right-handed bats are you going to have? Because you have a lot of lefties. Jackson, Adley's a switch hitter, Basayo, Gunner, Cowser. You have a lot of lefties right now already available. Dylan Beavers on top of it. If I was the Orioles, I'm sitting here, and we've talked about this in the past, and we're going to continue to talk about it. Easy to put together your bullpen of other players, like we've seen the Dietrich Ends and Garcia, and you have Cano coming back. That's great because some guys can be better than you anticipated. But the Orioles, in my mind, they need two high leverage guys. One, or at least one, but it'd be great if they had two. So if you're looking at spending, I would go and get two high leverage guys. So if you're looking at Devin Williams, Robert Suarez, I would be aggressive on the back end high leverage relievers. And then you're looking for an outfielder or two that can fit that spot. Yeah. Because whether people like this or not, I'm cool with getting a veteran bat. I think two veteran bats would be good. But once again, it don't matter at all for the veteran bats if your young guys don't get better. And if they play well, you're going to be in a good spot. But they have to play better. And then on top of it, right now, you're looking at a starting pitcher. But I still believe, Zach, and maybe that's the report out. I don't know if that's maybe we go with the news. If we're saying you want an outfielder and you want an outfielder that's a right-handed hitter, there's one that might become available if he chooses. And that's Mr. Byron Buxton right there. So this move to me, Zach, really has me interested. First off, that I've told you the story about Byron Buxton in the Under Armour All-American game with him.
Yes. But would you like to enlighten the
Yeah, so those that don't know, Byron Buxton and I were same high school class, 2012. We played in the 2011 Under Armour All-American game going into our senior year. And I misjudged how fast Byron Buxton was in center, meaning there was a blooper, and I was on first base, and I was trying to get off a little bit. And I wanted to make sure I was getting far enough in the middle so I could make it to second and not be out. And so that ball's hanging up, and I go, okay, I got to get off a little bit. And Byron Buxton just glides to the ball, catches it easily, and throws a missile to first. Now, they called me safe, but upon review, which you couldn't review because it's high school All-American game that don't matter, your boy was safe. But Byron Buxton did hose me. But the one thing that I noticed with him being at that game, the talent was off the charts. Now, I know what people are going to say here, Zach. Byron Buxton's been hurt a ton. And he
Yeah.
has. Like that's been the Achilles heel for Byron Buxton. But I got to tell you, man, if you're looking at a right-handed bat that has an impact like him, and for the deal it has, I'm going to pull up his contract. This gets really interesting. I'm not saying even for Baltimore. This guy's going to be in demand if he waives the no trade clause.
Yeah, and I mean, like, let's say what it is, call it like it is. When healthy, Byron Buxton, when he steps on the field, there are very few players that you can point to and say he's a better baseball player. All around, Byron Buxton is one of the best baseball players the game has to offer when healthy. And that's what scares the crap out of me, because he is a guy that you have to look at and say, okay, yes, he can take this lineup to the next level. But here's what's scary. 2025, 126 games. And you might be thinking like, dang, didn't even get to 130. That's the most he's played since 2017. 102 games in 24, 85 games in 23, 92 in 22, 61 in 21. I'm not going to count the 2020 season. 87 in 2019. 2018 he played in 28, and then 2017 he played in 140. As much as I would love to get him, I don't think the risk is. It all depends on the deal. It would all depend on what we have to give up, because I think that we talked about risks. That is a risk that has the highest potential that you maybe have on the market, because let's say you get 130 games out of Byron Buxton. That's probably worth 7-8 wins right there. That's a guy that, especially, we've sat there and talked about, okay, how do you put the lineup? You put Byron Buxton at 1. Maybe you go Westy at 2. Maybe you decide, okay, because Byron's a righty, we're going to go Gunnar at 2. Maybe it's Adley back at 2, and then you have Gunnar at 3. You have Westy at 4. That top of the lineup suddenly starts really forming together. Maybe you will go, hey, Byron, we know you're an incredible leadoff hitter, but because of how you are, we want you in the 3 or 4 spot to drive in runs. You have that versatility there because he's one of the best in the league at doing that. Everything points to him being the perfect player and perfect superstar because he is a superstar. He's the perfect superstar to join Baltimore. But that health is like it. We already got Tyler O'Neill where it feels like you're banking and hoping for 100 games. I think it gets risky there as well. So, as devil's advocate, that's what really, really scares me there.
Well, and so this is the thing for me is I'm not even talking about the O's here.
I'm just saying in general, using the O's as an example, he's the perfect guy to add to any lineup, especially if you need outfield help. And he takes you to that next level every game he plays. It's just how many games can he?
You want to talk about a risk, and we're talking about taking a risk, but a risk that actually could put your team from here to here. It's making a move like that. If he becomes available, why would teams make a move? Is because and I get it, like the if's the big part. But if you were to say that Byron Buxton plays 126 games, which he played last year, if he gives you that, Zach,
yeah.
And that's 35 jacks. He gives you that and he's healthy in the postseason. You are going to be damn happy that you made the deal. Why? Because you're chasing a championship and you have to take risks. I think the reason why, at least when people look in Baltimore, the problem with Tyler O'Neill was, the other part with Tyler, there's been questions on playing through injury, right? It's one thing to be injured and playing through it. It's two separate things, right? But the other part is the value that Tyler brings. If he's not, when he's on the field, he's there for one thing.
Yeah.
He's there to bang. He's there to hit. Buxton is not. If Buxton's healthy, Buxton is a premier defensive player out there that can cover ground. That's a value. And so if Buxton were to waive it, there would be a dozen teams, in my opinion, that would step up and be like, all right, we want him. Especially teams that want to make a run. And I will say this right now, if he became available and say any other team in the American League got him, especially a team in the AL East, you're going to be pissed. You'll be pissed off, because here's the other part. If you could say you could get a game-altering player for $15 million a year and 2 more years of team control after this year, would you risk that, Zach? Would you risk the opportunity? And that's something that I get for O's fans, and you're saying there's a lot of different things, but if you're checking the box, right-handed hitter, center fielder, and a guy that has star power when he's on the field, to me, that's a risk I would take.
Yeah, I mean, and
no
just
doubt.
Right here, you see everything on this is silly. Obviously, he's a swing and miss guy. He's going to have strikeouts, that but when he makes contact, he is one of the best hitters in baseball. And then he casually has a 100th percentile speed. And this is also in a year where he was dealing with injuries. So, yeah, the risk, I think the risk is obviously if you can get 100 games out of Byron Buxton, even then I think, because that's the thing. The $15 million per year makes it so the only real risk you have is what you're giving up in the trade. It's not like this is a guy that's breaking the bank, that you trade for him, things don't go well, and then suddenly you're like, well, we can't make another move because we got $35 million a year tied up in Buxton for 3 years. So, yeah, I think the risk, this is a calculated risk for any team. And it does come down to, it is Byron say. He does have a no trade clause. He can say no to any trade. He gets to pick his destination, all that. So it makes it interesting in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Can't deny the talent. The only question is whether or not you can rely on him to be healthy for over 50% of the games. But if you even get that, I think the risk is worth it. But once again, it's also going to depend on what you have to give up, because the Twins aren't just going to say, hey, guys, he doesn't want to be here. Just send us a few offers over. We'll take one.
For sure. And I'm sure Buxton will the other part in this equation, Buxton's going to potentially have a choice of where he wants to go. Not that he is going to have a choice. If he says, hey, I'll waive this, just like Arenado when he talked about his situation. Arenado got to choose, and he, that deal with Houston was supposed to go through, didn't go through. Buxton could choose. So I don't see it happening realistic for Baltimore. I don't. But if you're talking about a player and you're an organization out there, and a guy, here's the crazy thing, you're talking about wins above replacement, and we're pulling up O'Neill, and I don't like to do the whole WAR thing, but I think it's a good story to talk about. Tyler O'Neill in 2021, by the way, had a 6.4 wins above replacement, right? And that was his best year as a pro. Hit 286, 34 jacks, won a Gold Glove, finished 8th in the MVP voting. Zach, he's had one season since then, and even his entire career where his WAR's been higher than 2.6, and that was last year in Boston. Prior to that, his other highest was 1.2. And this is where I want to go to Byron Buxton, even in his games that he didn't play. Last year was 4.9 in 126. 2024 in 102 games, it was a 3.6. 2022, it was 3.9 in 92 games. And in 2021, he had a 4.9 in just 61. So when he's on the field.
To put context on that, Kyle Tucker, who's supposedly getting a $400 million contract, had in 136 games, I believe, this year, he had a 4.5 WAR. So it's a damn good player.
Damn good player. So to me, that gets into the equation, and I'm really curious on how that will all sort out here. But if he does say, yeah, hey, you guys are looking to sell and go in a different direction, I'm available.
People line up.
People are going to line up for him. There's no doubt about that. And there's no doubt about this. Well, there might be, but you can at least get rid of that doubt for us by hitting that like and subscribe so we don't have to guess if you are. Ryan Ripken Show, we do this live at 5 during the week. Appreciate you guys. Monday and Thursday are our big shows where we try to have our other guests on. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're talking more just baseball. And that's kind of where we're at here. So appreciate you guys. See you tuning in on YouTube, X, and Facebook. Once again, The YouTube crowd, we got a great YouTube crowd. See a good X crowd. And Facebook, I ain't forget about you guys. And our channel members, if you want to become a channel member, click that join button. We did a behind the scenes yesterday for our total channel members. I just did one before we started the show when Zach and I were trying to get things together for the Rips Better kids. So click that join button, be a member. It would help us out a lot. Before we get to the next topic, Zach, I did put out a poll, and I asked, do you believe the Orioles will spend big this year? Right now, we got 57% saying, yep, count it in, it's happening.
What do we consider spending big?
I think you land a big player or two.
All right.
Like, and not saying that they have to be the top end guys, but if you got Ranger Suarez and another Robert Suarez, I would consider that a big offseason, like a big spend.
Yeah, I would too. I'm going to go with what Tim Kirchin said because I do believe it's true. I'm going to say yes because they have to. This isn't a luxury of, okay, if we get the value, we get the value. They are in, I don't want to call it desperation mode, but with the rest of the AL East continuing to get better, with there not being a clear path of, okay, with this team, you can run it back and they're going to help you win. You need to add one or two players to this team to feel like you are in contention. And you don't want to go into a season where the goal is to win 81 games. I think this team with its core, you're not going to have Gunnar Henderson this cheap for much longer. You're not going to have Jackson Holiday for this cheap much longer. All these guys, Westberg, name it, Trevor Rogers, hell, Kyle Bradish. We'll see what happens there. Like these guys are on their deals, their rookie deals still, and you have to strike while the iron's hot. I think that this is a off season where there's pressure on the front office to spend. I think if this year's another failure, I think the seat is hot enough to where it could go in a different direction. Let's say they win 70 games. I wouldn't be surprised if they move on. So, yeah, I think this is a year where there is enough pressure to like Tim Kirchin said, I'm going to say, yes, they spend because they have to. If they want to compete, they have to.
Mm-hmm. Who doesn't love a good spending spree, right? Am I right? No one likes it like the Mets. The Mets.
Yeah.
One day we're going to do that at the Ryan Ripken show. We're just going to spend just to spend. We're not there yet.
No.
Eventually, one day we will.
One day
we will. Hey, Zach, next topic. What do we got on the docket here on this Wednesday?
If we want to continue on just maybe where some big names could end up, I know we have a Framber Valdez clip that may be a little bit interesting. So, yeah, earlier today, John Boy Media talking about Framber Valdez, Trevor Plouffe, former player, played for a while in the league, specifically with the Twins, kind of gave his 2 cents on why he believes that Valdez, kind of like a lot of people, will not be in Houston. He will have a new home, and kind of why he thinks that Valdez is the most valuable starter on the market. So let's listen to this, and then we'll react with you guys on the other side.
Valdez should be like the marquee free agent pitcher that goes, a model of consistency. Some hiccups last year on and off the field. Teams probably aren't going to be willing to give him as long of a deal and probably could use that as a little leverage. I don't know how they could use that as leverage. Like, how do you bring that up in a conversation? Like, hey, you kind of were earmuffs. You kind of were a dickhead last year. Can you please not be that with us? But a guy that keeps the ball on the ground, he's kind of, like we said yesterday, he's bulletproof. Parks don't matter for him. I'm going to go put him on a team with a really good infield, and that is the Chicago Cubs. I will go a 5-year deal for Framber Valdez.
I imagine all of us had him leaving Houston. There's no way that marriage is repairable.
Gone.
Right?
I had Giants for this. Him and Logan Webb.
I like that too. Those were the 2 teams I was between.
I had Atlanta. I had them trying to make a strike and go get him.
Framber, I don't have a great read on.
He fits a lot of teams because every team needs a starting pitcher. Every team needs a guy that can go out there and keep the ball in the ballpark. As you mentioned, anybody with a good infield defense, Giants are a great example of that as well. Off the chart.
Quite a few teams there. Yeah, they're right, though, that he ain't going back to Houston.
No.
And they're also right with saying all those teams would be a fit. The Cubs, to me, are strange. You made a choice that showed you couldn't come to an agreement there. He's a free agent. It's never good when you let a guy go to free agency and, test the market. But Framber would fit a lot of places. And he is the guy that people will pay for. I know that whole situation is going to ruffle a lot of feathers. Some teams are going to put their foot down or hand and say, no, you're not a fit for us. I don't care how good you are, but there are going to be those teams. It's the 1% conversation I talk about. If you are that damn good, they will put up with you.
Yeah.
Because you're good. And they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. So teams will pay for him because he's really good and he's good at what he does and he is dependable. A lot of contenders are going to want Framber Valdez. So I think all those choices are very interesting. I think the Giants out there in San Fran are definitely going to be looking to spend. I know that people want to say the Houston connection with Elias and Framber. I just think he's going to get outpriced on that one. And also, too, when we're saying the price or when they're saying Rubenstein with the checkbook, the other part is the player has to want to come here.
Yeah.
He's got to want to come and play in Baltimore. The money's great, but if it's a similar deal, you're going to have to choose where you want to live. And that's another thing that people have to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's so many connections I've seen on so many, MLB websites talking about predictions saying, oh, Orioles and Framber, the connection with Elias, the Orioles need a frontline starter. It just makes too much sense. I agree. If money was not a thing, an issue, I would agree. I think he would be a perfect fit in Baltimore. But you do also have to take into consideration the clubhouse stuff as well. And, does that fit in Baltimore? Is this something where, teams are, like Turp Plouffe talked about, like, hey, WTF? Like, what went on there? What's going on? Because the last thing you want to do is give 5 years, $150 million to a guy, marry yourself to him for 5 years. And then suddenly he becomes a bigger issue than he is, off the field than he is a plus on the field. So there is that, kind of risk there as well. I think he's one of the few players where, because he is the model of consistency, I think it's like since 2015 or something, 2017, I forget the year, he's tied for the most wins over that span in baseball. He is just a model of consistency. Like they said, such a ground ball pitcher. Doesn't matter what ballpark you put him in, he's going to have success. The only risk, like, he would be the perfect free agent if it wasn't for the, drama at the end of Houston, where it was very clear that there was something going on. And, Houston wants to move on. And I think Framber wants to move on. Hopefully it's just something where it was maybe something that happened in Houston. He moves on and he can have success wherever he was. But really the off the field stuff, or like just the clubhouse antics or whatever you want to call it, the quote unquote drama, I think that's really the only downside that to Framber. Like, that is, if you want to just talk about the player, what you can get out of them, he is a perfect fit for any rotation.
Yes. And he is the, if you were going to go off of dependability and guys available right now, the entire pitching class, and not saying who you think has the most upside to be great, just saying off of just dependable and also very good, it's Framber. It's him. Like, he checks the boxes. There's no one else in the class that can have the level of consistency and the big game moments, because while Dylan Cease has shown flashes, he's also shown flashes of inconsistent moments. I love Cease's stuff, but that's going to be a concern for teams. I'd even argue Ranger Suarez has become a little bit more dependable, but he's not the high upside. And that's the part where, when I mean high upside, just like not filthy, disgusting stuff that you can put a guy away.
I'll blow up by you.
Yeah. So, and like, I think if you're looking at Rangers going to be for a team that's looking for really dependable, consistent. And personally, that's what I like to go with when I look at teams. Get your star power or ace that you think you have, then go get some really dependable guys that have upside, but not that their upside to be unbelievable, that they just, what you get with them. So we'll see. Framber's the interesting one. Qualifying offer, no qualifying offer. I thought I saw someone say that in the chat.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if he's back in Houston. Shocked. I think everyone would be shocked. But
yeah, there's no way. I think that's irreparable. I think they're both okay with parting ways.
Yeah. And what else do we got next on the
next we'll take a slight break from free agency talk so we can get into manager of the year AL, because it was a little controversial to say the least. Last night, for the second straight year, Stephen Vogt of the Cleveland Guardians won the 2025 AL Manager of the Year, beating out John Schneider of the Blue Jays, Dan Wilson of the Mariners, and Alex Cora of the Red Sox. I actually thought it was hilarious that this one Red Sox reporter, or no, it was an Astros reporter, put out that, wow, Joe Espada finishes sixth for the AL Manager of the Year, and he was the only person to give him a vote. And he included in his story that Joe Espada somehow got a vote, and he was the one who did it. So that was fun. But Ryan, there's a lot of people who think John Schneider projected to finish last, 76 wins last year. All of a sudden it's Blue Jays. I know the voting, I believe, takes place before the postseason, but even then, the number one seed in the American League, 94 wins. He wins the AL East. Gives the nod to Stephen Vogt, who had 4 less wins than he did last year, was projected to win his, come in first or second. He was projected to be a playoff team again. What were your thoughts on how the voting turned out?
Yeah, so I love Stephen Vogt. He's one of my favorite managers. Hope we get a chance to interview him again next month. I think John Schneider deserved this one, but I will say, I think I shouldn't say they're all deserving. Dan Wilson did a tremendous job there with the Mariners. Cora, Hinch, Espada, like all, the Astros, maybe they fell off, but Hinch and Cora look like everyone you could make a case, but I still think Wilson, Schneider, Vogt, those are the top 3. No doubt. I thought Dan Wilson could have got even more love, to be honest, if we're going to talk about it. But I think why Vogt got it, I think definitely what transpired this year with Clase and Ortiz going on the restricted list. And then on top of that, the team then kind of selling, they're not buying at the deadline. And so they weren't even considered being in it. And yet they got hot. I think that all of that, Zach, I think boosted him again, because the Blue Jays ended up just being good from start to finish. So I think people undermined what their struggles were last year and thought, oh, well, we just misinterpreted that the Blue Jays are a good team. They still weren't a top pitching ERA team. They still weren't the best defensive team, but they were really good situational hitting the baseball. John Schneider, I think, should have deserved a little bit more love, but it really came down to, Zach, what happened in Cleveland during the year. I truly believe it. And quite frankly, that is worthy of winning the AL Manager of the Year for what you dealt with. But I think people too much just downplayed how bad the Blue Jays were supposed to be, and them winning the AL East and being the 1 seed. I think people just didn't give that enough credit.
Yeah, I agree. I think Schneider probably should have won it, but I understand why Vogt got it, because, like you said, how he navigated the Clase Ortiz thing. I mean, when you lose your all all-world closer middle of the year for what you believe is kind of no reason, meaning like it's not like an injury. It's not like, oh, we traded him and got prospects back. He's just gone. He's gone. Also with Ortiz. Yeah, I think it really, that final, they had like a 1% chance, 0.1% chance to win the division, and they come back and do it. Like, it just, I think I understand. I don't think I think there are arguments for both of them. I really like Stephen Vogt. I mean, obviously we've talked to him on the show here, but I think you could have gone either way with this. I know people are obviously upset, especially in Toronto, that Schneider didn't get kind of the recognition he deserved. And hey, he deserved to be 1 or 2 this year. What he did was incredible. But yeah, I think it kind of, like, the Blue Jays just took care of business, very under the radar all season. They just kind of went out there and did their job, and then they went on to the next series. And it wasn't like this. They never had really those crazy runs where it was like, oh my gosh, the Blue Jays are winners of 12 straight or something like that. They were just very consistently good the entire year. And I think at the end of the day, that did probably play a factor in that final push by Cleveland that kind of captured the hearts of everyone in America of like, oh my gosh, the Guardians are right, guards ball, all of this. It wasn't the big superstars. It was, we're laying down bunts. We're getting a guy. We're taking a walk with no outs. We're stealing second. We're bunting him over to third. We're we're going to ground out. Ball never leaves the infield. And suddenly we manufactured a run. I think that kind of gave him the nod at the end.
Yeah, and also the other part that I wanted to point out is when it comes to this whole situation, and I saw comments in there. What was it, Steve? You said about that run Cleveland had from 15.5 back in the AL Central. It's an unbelievable storyline. It is. But also to have that happen, you had to have a monumental collapse also by the Tigers. Yeah. So the Guardians won 17-19 at one point in September. Like, they were humming. But the Tigers also were one of the worst teams in baseball for the last 2+ months of the season. And meanwhile, in the favor of Schneider, the Blue Jays had the Yankees, who finished with the same record, and the Boston Red Sox, who were also a playoff team. So the division was just even better, and they still were able to win that division in spite of that. I mean, the AL Central was weak this year. I thought it was going to be better with the White Sox. The Royals underperformed, Twins. The Tigers, they looked like they were going to run away, and they should have. So Is that all on the Guardians? Which, yes, they deserve credit, no doubt. 15.5 is insane, but it's also insane how bad they were. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. And, obviously Stephen Vogt wins Manager of the Year with Craig Albernaz as his bench coach. Albernaz now in Baltimore. And now Albernaz as his bench coach. So earlier today, we officially got word of the new Orioles bench coach, Donnie Ecker. Orioles are hiring Donnie Ecker to be their bench coach under new manager Craig Albernaz. Per source, Ecker, 39, was on the Giants staff alongside Albernaz in 2020 through 2021 as a hitting coach before joining the Rangers as bench coach and offensive coordinator in 2022. So yes, that means he was the bench coach when the Orioles faced off against the Rangers in 23 as well. Listen, Ryan, I'll let you get your thoughts in a second. This is a guy, especially, bench coach, offensive coordinator. What was the one thing we always talked about with the Rangers? It was that offense. That offense is good.
Very good. Very, very good. And the one thing, clearly, Albie is bringing in his own guys, right? And I love it. Like he's having his imprint. He's getting his choice of players. And we're gonna wait to see how it all unfolds. Like, we really don't know how it's gonna unfold, but Rangers, dangerous lineup. They were inconsistent this year. Like, they whether it was some injuries, they underperformed this year, no doubt about it. But there is a continuity. I think above anything, Zach, and not that the Orioles staff didn't have any continuity. That's not what I'm throwing out there. But when you're bringing in a group, you want to bring in a group that you feel the messaging of what you're bringing to your ball club is going to be aligned, both defensively, offensively, and as a unit. So bringing in someone that you feel fits that mold, that's your goal. Now, once again, I don't want to dive so much into it because you have to see how this goes. You know, in the previous years, where I think where the Orioles were a little bit hindered, Zach, and I said that I not alluding to, but maybe I am a little bit. There was discontinuity, obviously, with the coaching staff because it didn't stay. They got rid of Freddie Gonzalez. You added a different bench coach in Robinson Chirinos. You had bullpen coaches leave in the past. You've changed even pitching coaches, all under this time of Brandon Hyde being there. So there was a lot of change, and it makes you wonder a little bit about. Could that have created more stress? And I 1,000% believe it did. Not that, again, it's no knock to those guys. It's just that's the reality. Now, one name I'm still waiting to hear. Well, Frenchie's going to be back as the pitching coach, I believe. I think. Buck Britton. That's the one I'm waiting to hear.
Yeah, I think we all are.
Yeah, and if I were to be a betting guy on that, I believe the answer is yes, he will be.
And I think that's a guy. I said before, I think Elias is going to let Albernaz pick the majority of the coaching staff. I think, obviously Elias is going to have final sign off on it and all of that. But I think Albernaz is getting his guys. But the one guy I kept saying where I was like, yeah, I could see Elias and them stepping in and being like, hey, we're keeping Buck. This is a guy this isn't someone who came from a different organization, was here for, just 1 year on the major league staff last year. And that's like, okay, it didn't work out, whatever. He's a guy that's been in this organization and worked his way up through, we talked about Joe Madden yesterday, working up the, starting low and working your way up. A lot of people thought, honestly, Buck Britton would be the successor to Brandon Hyde, I think. And quite honestly, I think if Brandon Hyde got 2 more years, 2-3 more years, and then something happened, I think Buck would have been maybe the prime target. But I would love for Buck Britton to be back in Baltimore. I think the connection he has with the players, especially as we talk about Albernaz, something he is so good with is the connections, is, being able to create that just locker room, kind of connection that I don't know where I'm missing the word I was going with, but just his MO has always been, he's a people person. He's someone that you meet him and he changes the way the locker room is run, just everything about him. So then you get Buck Britton, who also has all these connections and has been with these players throughout their minor league careers. I think that is a big, big plus.
I think it'd be a mistake for him not to be in the staff for all the reasons you said. And also, I think when you have a young nucleus of a coaching staff, Buck fits right into that narrative too. And you get to learn and grow. And also he can help be a almost a buffer in the sense of helping some of these coaches coming in, including Albernaz, understand how these guys work. So it makes the perfect sense in the world. I got a lot of faith in Buck. I love Buck. He was one of my favorite managers. I told you this, Zach, and anyone that didn't know, Buck was, I was on Buck's team, his first team he managed in the minors in 2018. And then he was my manager again in 2019 in Double-A. So really a great feel, great sense, players coach. He'll jump you when he has to. So luckily he didn't do that to me too much. Some other guys, man, oh buddy, I can get one of my former teammates on. We can reenact that one. It was on a ball that I hit for a double, and Buck didn't feel like the guy was running hard enough to get me the RBI, and oh sugar. Still got the RBI though, by the way. Had 3 hits that day. No Not a big deal. But if you know it's also not a big deal, just to hit that like and subscribe button. Do this live at 5 here on YouTube, X, and Facebook. And also we're putting this on Spotify later on and Apple, wherever you get your podcast. Give it a listen. Have a good time. Have some fun. And become a channel member too. Guys, we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys. We want to continue to do this. We believe that we're rising in this area. And we have a great Rolodex of guests that we have on here. So you don't want to miss that as well. So joining the channel membership, want to give you guys more access, but also helps us help you. So thank you guys. We got a couple last topics, Zach. Do we want to dive into? Do we want to talk about the rumor from Pittsburgh?
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about it because this is the craziest thing. We don't have anything to pull up, but we do have to talk about it. There's a rumor that, according to an anonymous teammate, Paul Skenes wants to play for the New York Yankees, and he has made it obvious, and it's not a matter of when, it's if, and he wants to go to New York and all of this stuff. Ryan, are you buying the rumor about an anonymous teammate saying that Paul Skenes is openly wants to go to New York and everyone in the Pirates organization knows it?
Well, I love me a good anonymous source. I love that it's so anonymous that, and you have to stay anonymous because it's such a big secret. Because if you had to attach your name to a report, what that would cause, I could go on a rant about this. My big thing when we're on here, Zach, when I talk and say things, I would not say anything on this mic that I wouldn't say to anybody out there. So anyone that's saying, oh, I have an anonymous, can't give away my sources. No. I don't like that game. Yeah. Because I don't fully believe in that the Pirates
this
are going to do
feels
this.
like a very trust me, bro type of
source.
Well,
and like, look, per sources is like the code word everyone throws around here. But here's the reality of this. I don't believe in this case that this is necessarily the believable part is this source. Do I believe that Paul Skenes wouldn't mind pitching in New York because it's the Yankees and it's a premier team in baseball and the Yankees are going to be trying to win every year, which the Pirates aren't? Yeah, I buy the hell out of that.
Yeah, if you're going to say that he'd rather be in New York than Pittsburgh right now, I don't think anyone would say he's wrong.
No, I mean, dude, any player on a team that is not playing well, of course you're going to have the feeling of wanting to make it with that team and turn it around. But if you gave any player a position that was in Pittsburgh, or let's see who else, another star player elsewhere, a team that's terrible. Why am I blanking?
What kind of team, or like how bad? Like White Sox, Rockies? Like, are we thinking like that bad, or?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, those are bad teams. But any of the teams that aren't like constantly competing to win. If you ask them, hey, if you want to go, might trade you somewhere else because it's a good deal for us and you get to play meaningful baseball. Every player would go, hell yeah. Oh, I get to get paid and now I'm going to go play where I know I got a chance at a World Series. Hell yeah. Because right now the Pirates don't.
Yeah.
They don't. So I'm not buying this anonymous source saying this, but I do buy the fact that would Paul Skenes want to play in big games? Yes.
Yeah.
Could Paul Skenes go to the Yankees? Of course. He could go to any team if the Pirates made him available, if they were to make him available, because his value is so high. I just don't know if any team can afford him, and that's what the Pirates are going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I just don't. Even if he's made available, that asking price is so astronomical, it's unreal, first and foremost. So like I said, am I buying that, okay, Paul Skenes would rather be on a perennial contender than the Pittsburgh Pirates who are just refusing to spend? Yeah, I'm sure he would love that. I'm sure he'd kick the door down if you're like, hey, Paul, walk through that door, like you get to be on a team that's actually you can play meaningful games. You'd go straight through the door. But also, all we've ever heard about Paul Skenes is how great of a leader he is. And he's a clubhouse guy, and he's someone that gets this team motivated and all that. And to be honest, that kind of directly goes against and contradicts. I don't know if he's a great clubhouse guy, and you can say that if he's also going, yeah, but I'd love to play for the Yankees.
Ain't gonna say it. Well, and they'll never say it out loud. And here's the reality, like I've told you guys in sports. I know Oriole fans are gonna not like this comment, or they're gonna get on me for it. But if the Yankees, if I wasn't with the Orioles and I got up to the big leagues and I had an opportunity to go play for the Yankees and to win, would that be an exciting opportunity as me as a professional? Of course. Like that would be. Now, again, I'm from Baltimore. And my dream growing up, Zach, was to be a part of the Orioles, to be at home and have a chance to win the World Series. That was my dream. I feel like that's every kid's dream, is to win a championship for your hometown team if you have the chance to. Like that's what you want. But if it was the Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, wherever, and you were in a place that wasn't going to allow you to do that, like Mike Trout, I saw Brooks, you made the comment about Trout. Trout might be the one guy that chose the Angels and how much he loves being with the Angels over chasing it. And I don't fault anybody. That's so, he'll go down as an Angels legend for that. But unfortunately for Mike Trout, people won't know the full greatness of Mike Trout because he's been injury prone and you never saw him in the playoffs. So for Paul Skenes, part of his story, yeah, the greatness of Paul Skenes, you need to see him in the postseason. And if you're the Pirates, yeah, I would not want to trade my best player and best pitching prospect in this generation for anything. But if you're not going to make the moves necessary to make the Pirates better, then go give him to someone that actually is going to try to do that. So,
yeah, I agree. I think this is something where it's like a no-brainer, duh. He wants to be in a competitive team. But I don't think Paul Skenes is going out there telling his teammates that he wants to be a Yankee and he needs to be a Yankee and all that. I think Paul Skenes, LA boy or Cali boy, I don't know if, when he hits free agency or when he hits, because he's going to get traded before he ever hits free agency. I'm not, I'm sure the Yankees will be involved. I'm not saying he's not going to the Yankees. I could very well see that. But I don't know if he's necessarily like it's the Yankees or nobody. So it's a rumor. And that's what I'm going to say. It's a rumor. I don't know if it could be 100% right, could be 100% false, probably lies somewhere in the middle, but that's kind of my takeaway on it.
Well, we'll see how that all unfolds. Dude, it's always fun to have the conversations. I forget how much we talk about baseball. We do talk a lot about baseball. And going into next year, yes, we're going to be based out of Maryland, but we're going to talk a lot of baseball because we got a lot of baseball fans in this chat. I see you guys. Appreciate you guys. Now, I think we hit all of the quota for our stuff that we wanted to talk about, right?
Yeah. And just real fast, because Michael Elias did just come out and say that he gave a wish list. Actually, we've never seen this wish list, and we don't have to really go into this because we've literally hit on all these. Michael Elias's wish list is a frontline starting pitcher, a closer or late inning reliever, and a veteran bat, possibly to fit into the outfield. So straight from the man's mouth.
Well, and this is the thing, and what I love, the verbiage, the words are great.
Yep.
Now the action for fans to believe it. I do believe they're going to be aggressive. Shocked if they won't, but now it's about the action for it. And it's interesting, Zach, everything that Michael Elias just said, I think is exactly what we've been talking about for a long period of time. Oh, outfielder. Oh, you want two relievers, high leverage guys?
Yeah.
Huh.
Join. Oh. And I love the frontline starting pitcher. It's like, yeah, get in line with the other 29 teams.
You know what? I actually don't like those types of guys. Personally,
I don't want to. No, I don't want a frontline starter. Why would a team want a frontline starter?
No, why would you? Why would you? Well, before we get on out of here, we did want to, at least for the vibes, Zach, we're going to talk more football tomorrow with a little baseball talk, but football tomorrow, Jameis Winston's going to start, it seems like, for the Giants. And this helps you get over the hump. Zach, do you have the clip of Jameis Winston being Jameis Winston?
I want fans to know that I'm going to do my best. Obviously I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to execute, have a surgical execution, and just play ball, man. Like, this is something I've been doing since I've been 4 years old. Now I just get to do it in the greatest city in the world. I'm going to be singing it with my son. It's the greatest city in the world. Yeah, that's a Hamilton reference if y'all don't know. Yeah, 10-year reunion.
Maybe that's why Paul Skenes heard that and he was like, "Oh, New York."
That's it.
I love there. Jameis Winston.
Dude, how can you hate that guy? He eats W's, and he gives you the best snow performance we've ever seen, ever.
That was that interview. Get to play in some snow. Gosh, the chariots ready for battle.
We need more of that. Bring that back.
I'm so happy that he's starting over Russell Wilson because it might not go well, but it's going to be a hell of a lot more entertaining because he has no issue just throwing that rock as far as possible and hoping for the best. Somebody's catching it. You don't know which team when Jameis throws it, but someone's catching it.
I would say the Jameis experience is one of the top experiences in all of the NFL. Experience. I would even put that in the top 3, and that includes watching Lamar Jackson play football. But that's on the positive side.
Yeah,
because that's an experience. But the Jameis experience is exactly what you're right. What you said. You don't know what you're going to get. Life is like a box of chocolates, or the Jameis Winston experience is like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you're going to get, and that's the beauty of it. Before we get out of here, the last poll I put up, Zach, do you like crepes? Those little very thin pancakes,
Yeah.
You a fan?
Isn't that a movie line?
Yes, it is.
I was going to say.
Just say, I like
that was
crepes.
Talladega Nights.
There we go.
I was going to say, it's definitely like a Will Ferrell movie. Yeah. I was going to say, it's got to be.
You know what? I might just start making polls of just some of these remarks and just see if they get picked up. But do you like crepes? Or he said, I will, I just want you to say, or I'll break your arm, essentially. Just say, you like crepes. Don't you say it. And wait a minute, those really thin pancakes? Oh my God, I love those. Well, how about you just say, I like really thin pancakes? I think that's a fair compromise. Break it, Pepe Le Pew. What a movie. What a game. What a sport. Guys, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Appreciate you guys. And channel members, click that join button. Have some more content coming your way on there. Appreciate you. You guys rock. I'm going to hit the music, Zach. Boom. As always here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, have a great stinking rest of your Wednesday. And once you get over that hump, come join us. Come join us tomorrow on Thursday's show for a brand new edition.